All right, so welcome everyone. Let's see, we'll do some quick introductions. Aaron Titus, I am the VOAD rep for the church in Colorado. And let's see, after you introduce yourself, choose somebody else. I'm gonna choose Bill. I'm gonna totally put Bill on the spot there.
Hello there, I'm Bill Talbert. I have VOAD represented for the church for Northern Utah, and I've known Aaron since he only had 4 kids.
All right, Bill, choose somebody else. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Jim Reeves.
I was so afraid that this was going to be like 7th grade basketball and I would be last. So thank you for not making me be last. James Reeves, I'm the LDS VOAD for Georgia, and it is 8 o'clock, not 6. And his comment begs the question, Aaron, how many kids do you have now?
11.
Awesome.
Yep.
And you're smiling.
Well, you know, what else is there to do?
Exactly. Okay, I'm up. Carrie and Susan.
Hi, this is Carrie and Susan Smith. We're the VOAD representatives in Montana.
All right, Carrie, who's next?
How about Amie?
Wonderful. That's a good way to start. Amie is my, we say, wicked alter ego. My real name is Amie. Very nice to meet you. In fact, I guess it even says Amie there. I need to update my sign-in. Hi, my name is Amie Leigh, and I am the founder and clinical director of Capacity Path and Capacity Path Relief, organizations that dedicate themselves to working with mental health and resilience in disaster. And I've known Aaron since might have been cue ball was it was 9 was in the oven when we met. So 8. I've known Aaron since 8 kids. We're gonna do this.
And Amie's gonna be our presenter today.
Thank you for letting me be with you all.
All right, Amie, you choose somebody.
I'm gonna go for Lisa of Ohio, saying hi to Lisa of Utah. But Lisa of Ohio, I'm calling on you.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm the Ohio VOAD rep, and I'm glad to be here. And thank you for coming to present to us tonight, Amie. We appreciate that so much. I'll go for Lisa Bagley of Utah. Is she there?
Muted.
Lisa, you with us? Lisa Bagley? All right, we'll come back to Lisa.
All right, and then how about Marty?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Marty Grisham. I'm with Washington VOAD, currently serving as president of Washington VOAD. And Washington VOAD, we are hosting the Mountain West VOAD conference next year. Aaron knows all about that, and some of you do. And so you'll be coming to beautiful, sunny Seattle area, but we're not going to Seattle. I'll just tell you that. We're going to be in Kent, Washington, a beautiful, beautiful campus. It's really, really nice. So that's me.
Sorry, I couldn't make that meeting today. It's, sorry, Maui.
Yeah, I know, Maui. Gosh, it's killing me.
All right, Marty, who's next? I think we've got iPad and Stan.
Let's go iPad. Gotta find out who that is. They're muted.
All right, who's on the iPad? Oh.
All right. Who else we got? It hasn't.
Stan and Lisa.
Yep. Sorry, I had a guy washing my windows and I had to go out and pay him, and so sorry I'm late to the party. Lisa Bagley, past president of Utah State VOAD, and now representing Region 2 for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Region 2 is Salt Lake County, Tooele County, Wasatch, and Summit County. So we were on call for the flooding in Draper last week, but Salvation Army and Red Cross gave out their numbers, but I don't think our help went beyond those two organizations.
Awesome. And Stan.
Good evening, everyone. Stan Walters. I'm the church's representative to the Pennsylvania VOAD. We'll just leave it at that hat for tonight.
And now, are you in leadership as well?
I am the IT chairman. I was on the board of directors, but I'm happily off the board and serving as the IT chair. So I'm the DART administrator for the PA VOAD.
Got it. And Lisa, you are in leadership as well in Ohio, correct? Lisa.
Yes, I'm the communications chair, and I've been serving on several ad hoc committees trying to get everything going.
Yes. Well, with that, let's go ahead and just go. Let's see. iPad. We haven't heard from iPad. Who's on the iPad?
You know, I have a funny feeling that that might actually be me. So
I thought I saw somebody who's definitely not you, but I thought I did anyway. Regardless, whoever it is, you're welcome.
Oh, no, good. I'm sorry. I thought that might be
It
me.
may be me. This is Fred Maurice from the Oklahoma VOAD.
Hey, Fred. Good to see you.
Good.
All right. So we'll go ahead and just jump right in. So Amie has been a good friend and worked in disasters for many years. She's the person that I personally go to for all of my kind of emotional and spiritual care and debriefing after disasters.
Explain why Aaron is still so distressed.
And so, yeah, anyway, I think Amie can talk about her experience, but, really has a lot of expertise. And I think more than anything, just caring. And you're going to hear from Amie more than anything else, you're just going to hear about what it means to lead with your heart when you're in the field and really listen and to yourself, to others and stuff. So with that, Amie, I will just turn it over to you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much for this invitation. It's always an honor and a privilege to be with new humans and think that in some way in a speaking gig, and I get you're all leaders, so you've had speaking gigs, there's a sense of I might influence your life. And I hope I do. I hope in the time we get to spend together, I get to be a contribution to who you are on the planet. But it would be so preposterously arrogant to not sit here for a moment in awe and imagine looking at you, what you've already contributed on the planet. Stan, I heard you say, the one hat right now, and I heard the humility in that. And I really, really honor and enjoy that. I enjoy that. And I think that's who we all are kind of in this space. As soon as you have a conversation where the word VOAD is there, you know that there is a certain amount of surrendering and contribution and offering of who you are. But there's also a lot of like, man, I got things to do. I want to make a difference. I care about people. I care about processes. Some of us are really systems oriented and we want to see systems high functioning. Some of us are really people engaged and we just want to make sure people are feeling good. I like to work at the intersection of where people and systems kind of intersect. And I like to look at people as systems. I have a little bit of I'm the daughter of an engineer. My father was a chemical and a mechanical engineer. And I like to think, how can we engineer our humanity to be really good at being human? And I know our faith and our practices and our friendships and our families are part of being great at being human, but I'm always looking for more access, more systems, more tools. So I want to ask you guys first off, okay, especially some of you who might be over the age of 45, okay? Some point in your life, maybe your kid, maybe your wife, maybe your husband said, I have this iPhone for you. I want you to start using it, Grandpa, Grandma. I want you to use it. And it's really intuitive. As soon as you start using this, it's designed that you just know how it works without any instruction manual. Now, I don't know if that's really you, but my father, I got him a Google phone years and years ago. And then that wasn't really working for him. So I got him an iPhone. Aaron, I'm sorry I went over to the Apple iOS system. I know technology that might hurt a little. But I thought maybe it'd just be easier for him. He's got fingers that are kind of fumbly. And he just kept saying, I can't figure out how to send a text message. I can't figure out how to answer the phone when they call. These are the fundamental things, right? So I said, well, Papa, it's intuitive. And I realized what a jerk I am. Like, here's this man who had been alive 70 plus years on the planet at that point, and I'm telling him, you're supposed to know how this thing works. That was just invented a couple of years ago because it's intuitive. Meanwhile, our 5-year-old nephew is there showing us how intuitive it is. Little brat. Not really, of course not. But really, I'm bringing up that because I think a lot of us can relate with it. There might have been one moment where there's some technology you interface with where you realize, oh, there are tips, or someone can tell you how to do something and you learn, oh, that it does something really cool that I didn't know it did. I like to look at human beings like that. Like, we enter this life into our bodies and we operate them like they're supposed to be intuitive, but sometimes they're not. Like, I don't always know. Well, I have a lot more things. A lot of us don't know how to be happy. A lot of us don't know how to experience sadness and let it go away without holding on to it for a really long time. A lot of us, and we see more and more young people these days, don't know how to feel a little anxious or a little stress and not call it a life of panic and anxiety. There's just a lot of panic and anxiety and stress and depression among young people these days. And I'm thinking, it should be intuitive, you guys. It should be intuitive how to be happy at life. You weren't put on this planet for suffering. So I'm just starting to give you a little bit of a taste of who I am, and then I'm going to find out a little bit more about who you are. But there's one more thing I'll say before we do that, which is I'm assuming we all live in houses. Is that a fair assumption? Yep. Nobody here's living in a yurt. LDS. I thought you guys had yurts. I thought you all did some really cool mountaintop things with, come on, Aaron, there's a yurt in Longmont, Colorado with your name on it. I know it. It's in the backyard and it's got 10 kids in it. The 11th is
Only when I have my choice. Get out. Go sleep out.
I'm saying the 11th is with mom helping make dinner. So I'm assuming most of our houses have kitchens. People have kitchens here. I'm assuming most of those kitchens have sinks. And I'm assuming most of those sinks are as full of dishes as mine right now? No. Some people see dishes go into the sink. Hi, Lisa. Some people see dishes go into the sink and they know how to get them out of the sink and clean. Now, this is a mysterious concept to me. I don't know how that always works. Haven't figured out that one all the time. But really, I'm joking, of course. Dishes get in the sink. They get dirty. We know how to wash them and clean them and get them out. But sometimes emotions, feelings, things come in our system and we don't know how to kind of clean them out. So we end up stuck with them. Or we want to put things into the system like joy, peace, and happiness. And we're like, I can't get it anymore. Now, I work a ton with firefighters and law enforcement. And this may or may not be a surprise to you, but there's an unprecedented amount of resignation and sadness among these incredible powerhouses of community contribution. And I'm like, that's not right. They know how to do service, but they don't know how to put the joy back in. And they also don't know how to get some of the burden out. So those are the systems I look at. I start to look at what is our system for bringing emotion in and also getting it out where we don't need it. And what I found is the system is the body. Very interested in the body. And we all have a body. I might say, oh, we can talk about our feelings. And some of you will say, I only have one feeling. Which one do you mean? But some of us I have a rainbow of feelings and they're all here all the time. And there's so many. So emotions and feelings can get kind of political, complex, or involved. But you know what? I think we all have a brain. It looks like we all have noses, eyeballs. I'm guessing some hands are in this space, even though they're not on the screen. We have a body, and there might be something in the operating of this intuitive system that can help us feel a little bit more empowered at life. And when we know how to operate this with a bit more intentionality, rather than just go through life like we got it and we got it all figured out, we can help our kiddos, we can help our spouses, and we can help our communities operate a little bit better too. That's kind of what I'm into. But we can talk about a whole lot of things because I got a lot of tools in the kit. I've met a couple of you before. So that said, hearing that in like the 20 minutes we get to spend together, what would make a difference for you tonight? Like what's something that you're dealing with that would make a little difference in your world or would add something to your toolkit? I mean, I don't know if you guys are addicted to a DeWalt 20 volts like I am, but man, if I can't get that DeWalt 20-volt hedge trimmer in my kit, I'm not going to be able to tell you I can get distress out of my system because I want it. Once I start getting tools, I get obsessed with tools. So we had a lot of tools. So if you got some tools tonight around emotions, physiology, around managing people and maybe what happens in the distress of their body, or a little bit, you bump into resistance as recruiting and engaging people to work with your org, getting them to be consistently engaged, keeping them sort of steady and balanced or engaged and committed. I think these are things we bump up against in the VOAD. What around that would make a difference for you? So I'm not just talking at you and maybe throwing up some slides. And I am that kind of teacher. I'll wait till you speak.
Hi, this is Lisa from Ohio.
Hi.
So the interesting thing that's happened with me is I came on board with VOAD during the pandemic. So I haven't met any of my counterparts except for one person, one of the board members in person. So it's really been hard to try to figure out, and I'm the communications person. I don't know how I got this job because I really don't do well with the technology. But with that handicap, I am really good on the phone, and so I come at it with knowing that I have deficits. And then I ask for help, and then I have a lot of people that are real. I've been only doing this for 3 years, so a lot of people have been doing it for 30. So they have a lot of experience, and I draw on that, and we've been going at it. But it's hard trying to figure out how to get those interpersonal relationships over devices,
Gotcha.
especially in the state.
Okay, so if you got a little something about cultivating interpersonal relationships over devices, that might be a little bit more deeper and engaging. It could be supportive to you in what you're out to do in the Ohio VOAD and just in your life. Sounds like it would be more enjoyable.
Well, yeah, I'm learning. We're doing the family text and everything, and I'm trying to figure out how to run the Facebook page for Ohio without offending anybody in this world of offense.
Good luck. Okay, gotcha. Well, we'll kind of look about that and look at about, creating more deeper interpersonal relationships, connected interpersonal relationships, because that's a huge sustenance to us. And there's a huge body component to that I'll share with you a little bit about. Yeah. Who else has something?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. We have just, I was not aware that we had a Facebook page here in Ohio for VOAD. And so not me personally, but we as a Utah State VOAD are about to embark on, exactly that. How do we use Facebook and technology, i.e. Instagram, Twitter, particularly for the younger generation. That's something that we haven't had, that we realized, maybe we should be using that. So actually one of our younger officers who's just stepping in, she might take over that role. But some suggestions on that, reaching out in that social media sphere as well.
Well, because not just reaching out, but I'm hearing you say, like, if you're able to have the reach out that you want, I'm seeing if what I heard in the after part of that is right. The younger people would feel more connected and involved and potentially more engaged.
Yes, and become members of VOAD, because I think all of us, if you look at all of us in this group, we are of a certain age, and we need younger people to start stepping up and jumping in as we are getting more mature,
Mm-hmm.
if you will.
Mm-hmm. 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 Got it. Okay. There are a few things that I'm getting in that. This is great. This is really cool. Erin, you couldn't have prepped me for this because I got this. This is really fun. We're going to have some fun.
So, I was going to just say, so I could just thumbnail and say, one, you know me well. I got 42 years as a firefighter.
Gotcha.
So I got a bunch there, right?
Thank you.
I'm battling 2 cancers. I have a son that's got some mental illness going on. We've been dealing with that. And so you should really feel sorry for me.
Got it. Super bad. And you know what? You're probably the worst person on the planet.
I am.
Terrible.
I'm terrible.
Horrible. So bad.
But-
I'm sorry. Everyone
you know
else who
what?
needs to hear people be nice to each other. This is what firefighters need. You're terrible, Marty. You're the worst.
I know,
You're
I know,
absolutely
I
worst.
know.
No, so bad. So
I already
bad.
know that.
Okay,
Just
good. Well, I'm just
stop-
checking in. I mean, really,
Stop
so
picking
bad.
on me. I'm no. But
But
you know
it
what
makes
it
sense.
is? For
Yeah.
me, what it is, and I heard this a long time ago, is that things happen to everybody. We all have something. What should set us apart and what should put us on a better course is what we do with it. And so I have cancer. I'm alive. And I'm doing well. And I can still be happy. I just have to focus on what the good things are and kind of put, not stuff it, which you understand firefighters do a lot. I don't stuff it. I just overwhelm it with the good that's in my life. And so I think that's a key is we all have something. It's not what if we're going to have something, it's what do we do with it? And I can learn from it and grow from it. I can help other people that are going through similar things. And life is good. That's my saying is life is great.
Check you out. Everybody borrow a page from Marty's playbook right now. I mean, this man just listed like, you said 2 kinds of cancers? And he's just like, life is good. That's it. And what I'm getting, you get, Marty, is you're getting like this absolute sheer choice around it. The sheer choice around how you're living with what's happening and what you're making it mean in your world. And there's what's happening and you're not making it mean life is over. You're making it mean life is good. Here I am.
I'm here. Every day is a great day.
You're good at life, Marty. You can sign off now.
And I'm retired, so every day is Saturday.
Stop. Now you're just rubbing it in.
I am.
Yeah, Stan loves that. He's like, yeah, look at all these kids are like, we know everything better than you guys. And you're like, yeah, but for me, every day is Saturday. So whatever you want, kid.
I don't go to work and I still get a paycheck.
Oh, even more. That'll get people into public service. Let them really get that retirement is really a thing with public service professions.
Exactly.
Nice.
Anyway.
Cool. That was Marty. Thank you. Really got that's a really deep share and beautiful. And we really got the world of you. Everybody got the world of Marty right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to even take this moment to start deepening it in the body if I can, as Marty's saying it. I'm going to take more shares, but I'm going to say, take a deep breath in and really let yourself experience what it just was to be with what Marty shared. Like we often, like Lisa, and Lisa, I'm just going to get to abbreviate right there. We handle everything like it's the messaging we get out, but it's like, what about the messaging we're receiving? Like this beautiful human, if I can say this, Marty just said, been through all kinds of stuff in life. You get what he was sharing with firefighter. There's a lot there. And he's able to drop it in code. Like, I've got that. And I've got these cancers. So there was a mountain of life experiences that have been hard and current stuff. And he's saying like, it's good. Do we let it in when someone says it's really good to have life as if we're like actually intimately connected to each other? Because we are. If people around us aren't living their best lives, we can feel it. Right? I mean, it's a sort of strange thing. This is when I get weird and hippy dippy on you, but there is a lot of books out there about the science of vibes. So the 70s was right. Good vibes is actually a thing. Like when you're in a good space, there's an oscillation actually to your molecules that creates a resonance in the world around you. And so when Marty's just sharing it, I mean, you guys know he could have just shared a story about cancer in a different way and we all would be like, oh my gosh, whoa, ow, ah. And none of us did that. He took us somewhere. So let yourself be taken to those places with people. And it nourishes that connection that a lot of us we've sort of forgotten how to get because we've got all this technology. So we don't really know how to get the connection anymore. Well, one way to get the connection is take a moment, really let it in. Notice if there's a little softness in your heart. And I literally mean in the physical region of your heart, not like just the Valentine mushy thing. Like notice, like, does there something feel soft there? Something maybe feel soft in your face? For a moment, practice having kind of a hard face. I don't like that. I don't understand what you're saying face. And then when you do that, your whole body kind of feels like, "Ugh." And then like have a soft little face. Say, oh, Marty's living his best life. Every day is Saturday for him. Man's dealing with stuff, but he's dealing with like a Saturday. You know, on Saturday, you can deal with just about anything. And just let yourself drink that. Even if that's not you right now, even if you're in a suffering space right now, you can still get a little island of respite. We have to be deliberate about that and maybe teach each other how to do that. I think in older generations, there was a lot of direct teaching going on. And right now that teaching is getting stopped by a lot of productivity and tools that kind of get in the way of really getting that. So thanks, Marty. We got it. We got you. What's it feel like to be gotten? What's it feel like to know there's like 10, 12, 11 people on this call just got you?
Well, I that's an interesting question. I don't know what it feels like that everybody got me, but I don't know. I'm not sure your question, but
yeah.
I think it's about sharing. And I just went to a retirement party with a bunch of old guys. They're all, right around my age. We all recently retired from the fire service. And we sat around and everybody's talking about, oh, I got this condition, and I got this, and I got that. And we just laughed at each other because here we are, the old farts now, sitting around talking about our ailments. And we just laughed. We laughed at each other because I think we understand we all got something. Give it up. Yeah. Go enjoy life. Enjoy your Saturdays.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that you didn't really get like, I don't really know what it is to be gotten. Like you're asking me to feel something. I don't really know what to feel. Like, what do you mean feel? I don't even know what I think about that. Like, but then you did jump in and you shared even more. You just shared your wisdom. Like we don't really kind of know how to feel what's going on here anymore. You know what I mean? But something must have felt good about sharing your wisdom, knowing that the room was hearing it a little bit. But then when I said, how was it for you? You're like, well, here's some more. Here's some more. And so I'm just asking us to begin to it. Like we're increasing a little bit of our awareness about ourselves. Because as you get a little bit more aware of yourself, you can be a little bit more intentional in how you give yourself. And young people these days, if you want to engage young people these days, are really attentive to that fact. Like they know if you're plugged in and relating with them, or if you're just broadcasting at them. Yeah, that's the perfect quote, Lisa. They know if you're just broadcasting, or if you're actually kind of like connecting. And it slows things down to connect. I was like, okay, come on, get to the stuff. Well, here's the stuff we're connecting a little bit. It's weird. Here we are in 2023, best time on the planet. We're like, wait, I don't know how to slow down to connect. Who else has something? So what I also took though from what Marty shared is it because he's dealing with mental illness in the kiddo in the family, probably a lot of us are dealing with someone in the family who might be having a mental illness or a challenge of some kind. So getting a little bit more resource about that, or a little bit of idea of how to get some resources. We can get to that too. Anybody else got something? If you share, everybody gets some sharing out of it. And everyone gets some connection. And it's an act of service. I'm going to take one more and then we'll go into the content. William's got this little smile like, do not call on me, do not call on me, do not call on me. She's the kind of person who calls on people. Don't call on me. James is like, yay, she mentioned William, not me. She's not going to call on me. Jerry's like, oh no, she knows better. I'm over here in the chair. I mean, you guys have lived some time on this planet. What would make a little difference in your life to get? Go for it, William.
I'm sitting here. I enjoyed what Marty had to say, but I'm kind of the opposite. I've taken Retirement 101 so many times and failed. I don't take the course anymore. I'm what I call oversubscribed. I'm involved in so many different things. One of my kids said to me the other day, gee, Dad, you realize that you retired from the military, retired from law enforcement, you were an emergency manager, and now you're in all this VOAD stuff. You spent your whole life doing service for others. And that made me really stop and think, because he was absolutely right. That's what I enjoy. That's what my mother inculcated in me when I was a young boy, that you have to help others, find a way to help others. And so I've been doing that. But every once in a while, I'd like to be retired, you know?
And it looks like it from your full desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Really nice to be in your space. Now, can I ask you a kind of a trick question? It's not really a trick question, but a real question. When you say you want to be retired, but then you keep not really retiring, and everyone around you notices, do you really?
Well, my wife keeps saying, "Aren't you retired?" You know, we got 3 retirements between us.
Yes.
And so that's not financial anymore.
Yeah.
And we ought to just be able to unplug whenever we wake up in the morning and say, hey, let's go visit my son in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And we don't feel like we can do that because we've got so many commitments, obligation, leads, and other things that it's difficult to do.
So what would you like that you're not currently getting? Do you just want like a few more days off? Like, do you need retirement days off? What's missing?
The word emeritus comes to my mind.
Okay. Can you say a little more? I think I got you, but say a little more. If you really want it behind you.
I've had an amazing life. You talked about experience, retired military, retired law enforcement, lived in the Middle East, lived in China, lived in Central America, was born outside the country, came to this country when I was 4 years old with El Zippo, nothing left. And I've set goals, attained my goals, and it's kind of like my bucket's empty now. And I would like to enjoy the empty bucket for a while.
Okay, I am guessing that what you are saying is not unheard of to a lot of people in the VOAD. Like, one, how do I empty my bucket? But I'm guessing all of you guys have done some looking at wellness and things in the last few years. You're like, I know my access to wellness is like putting some attention on it, but then still, how do I even enjoy it? How do I get enough space that I know this was really active downtime and really get the refreshment of it? And then maybe you want to go right back to work. You remind me of my dad. He's got a lot of retirements, and he always says, I'm going to work until the day I die. And we know this is true. We know this is true.
Incidentally, I'm also a certified LDS chaplain for law enforcement. So you mentioned the fire department was mentioned earlier, and I've done a lot of work in that area and have taken a lot of that training and disaster spiritual care and all those kinds of things. So the skill set is there, and I understand how that whole thing works and the importance of diversity and thought and religious and ethnic backgrounds. So I know where all the pieces are. I'm just looking for the shiny piece that I can go after now.
I gotcha. Really gotcha. Okay, well, you guys are saying something that I'm going to show you some slides and some visuals. But anybody who's not a firefighter or a police officer or some former emergency responder, would you mind if I messed with these guys a little bit on this for a minute, just to give a little bit of joy? Any objections?
Great. Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. Someone's like, please mess with these guys. We know they need a little harassment after a life that much nobility. Come on.
Well, you got a police and a firefighter.
Police and a firefighter in the same room.
This is going to be a challenge. But you know why God created why God created police officers?
Why?
Because
so
even
somebody would pass the psych test.
Now, I've heard that one too, but the one I like is because even firefighters need heroes.
Oh, all right. You guys got it.
Police officers are our heroes.
Tell me if you could, sorry, I figure out my screen for a second. You guys gotta putz with me. Can anybody tell me what is going on in this magical image right here?
Firefighters versus policemen.
Lisa, gold star, ding, ding, ding. Anybody else?
I see the donuts. The wagon full of donuts. That's good.
Love it. I love that you see the donuts, Marty, but you missed the hoses.
And it looks like the dispatcher is the referee.
Yes, right? And how's the score doing? Last inning.
Score.
Everyone's tied, you guys. Everyone's tied. But if we give these guys the chance to duke it out in front of us, they will. They will. That's just the fun of it. I just recently did a class with Jacksonville Fire Department and called their old chief of several years ago. And I said, hey, I'm going to show this to your fire guys. What do you think is going on in this picture? And he said, well, it's very clear that the valiant firefighter is trying to rescue the damsel in distress from this horrible law enforcement officer who's trying to abscond with the donuts.
There you go.
The world that we deal with. But interestingly, for all of us to know who are not law enforcement or police or fire or EM, is to note that one of the major survival tactics of dealing with a profession that is honestly brutal. I mean, people do not realize how much self-harm and other harm there and accidental harm there really is going on. But these guys are right there in the interception point of it. And the massive survival tool they use well is humor. Really humor, all the way humor. So I'm teaching this very serious course about neuroscience, and one is called How to Slay the Dragon. And one is like fighting the enemies at the gates, and they're all Nerdville. They're all Nerdville medieval fighting things. But we know that humor is what gets us through. And that's one really strong tool. So something to just put in your coffers, and I want you to be thinking about this with younger people and recruitment and all those things too. Something that is profoundly engaging. I just noticed that in our last conversation. So what's profoundly engaging is joy. Is joy. We're like, but we recruit for the VOAD, we're like, this is really urgent work. You must come. It's very devastating. People are dying. Join us. Like, but if you could say, we get together every month and we have so much fun. And why Aaron Titus and I have such a gigantic love is because we know, oh my gosh, here it goes. Hawaii's on fire. Oh Lord. And we're just going to play and delight knowing that we're going to be of service in what's an absolutely devastating event. So there's no distress or harm of certainly meant to the very clear suffering that's there. And you all know in your leadership positions, we're not going to broadcast like firefighters and police don't. This is fun. We're going to go have fun. But for volunteer engagement, fun really matters, honestly. And so I think we spend a lot of time thinking about volunteer coordinating, and we don't spend a lot of time thinking about volunteer entertaining and our own. So what do volunteers want for fun? Well, one of the first places to start is your own authenticity. What do you think is fun? Now, if I made this slide picture here and I told all my people, you got to teach this. This is going to be really fun. Some of them don't have that same sense of humor, so they just stumble over this. So I'd say taking some real time to get to know your sense of humor is really an excellent recruitment and enrollment program for working with future generations. And if you don't have a great sense of humor, which is okay, you probably fire on other cylinders extraordinarily well. Look for people who are fun or funny and ask them to engage others on your behalf. Like really recruit the leader in them by helping them engage that. There's something kind of powerful about that. So I'm going to just show you a couple of images and I'm going to take the slides down so we can chat a little bit more about them. But
real quick, one of the things you asked the question, like what do volunteers want? And I heard one time there are two types of fun in this world. Okay. Type 1 fun is pleasant enjoyment, hanging out with friends, watching a movie, playing a game, that kind of a thing. Type 2 fun is totally awesome misery fest. And I think that that's what we do. Totally awesome misery fest. Yes, really excellent. Well, and thank you. Like pointing out there's a variety of fun. There's, some people like sarcasm. I once was making a sarcastic joke and someone said sarcasm is a sin against charity. How dare you say that? And I was like, oh gosh, my faith and not sinning is really important to me. And I never thought about that like that. And I wish you didn't tell me that because now I'm just going to have to sin 100 times a day because I really like sarcasm and it's going to be hard to break that habit. But really, I did take it seriously, and I noticed in what circumstances I was using it, and I adjusted that accordingly. But it's worthwhile to know what is fun for you. I mean, what's fun for a 3-year-old? Would this picture be fun for a 3-year-old, you guys? No. Would a pack of crayons and a piece of paper be wild fun? Absolutely. Firefighters, you'll enjoy this. I did a class for police officers this week. Whenever they got in trouble, they had to sit in the back and have fun making pictures with crayons, and they did it. They did it.
But sometimes like that culture of creating fun that is really good spirited is really helpful. And I'm going to share with you a little bit why. I'm going to share something that's sort of obvious, but once we say it, we could say like, how is this system? I talked about the system of the person. Oh, and if you're on a screen and you want to see people, not just the slide, many of you might notice you can set a gallery or speaker view still in the upper right-hand corner. You can put it on gallery view while a slide is up on the screen, and you should see more of our faces. And then you should be able to, sometimes there's a little dividing line in between the peoples and the slide. If you slide that little dividing line over, you could see more of the people. If you're on the phone, forget about it. It's just way too complicated. We're not going to deal with that right now. But if you're on a computer, you might try that. I like to see other people's faces even when I'm in groups. So this is kind of life. So here's the system. Here's one way of looking at the system. There's a million ways of looking at the system. But one way of looking at the system is we've all got a certain amount of bandwidth, what we can handle. And we've got our life experiences. We're just, hey, we're vibing. We're going with the flow. I told you there's going to be some weird hippie 70s stuff sometimes too. We're bringing it back. Yacht rock from the 70s, my favorite playlist. So we're going through the river of life and we're cruising. And then there's critical incident or traumatic event or, hey, just stress in the family, or sometimes even good stress in the family, but it comes in and it's like all of the energy, all of the strength, all of the willpower, all of the focus gets like breached on the riverbank. And it starts feeling like, oh, my energy is all out over here. And we feel this reduced bandwidth, this limited capacity, because we're kind of swirling. Now, this picture is made to teach psychotherapists about a trauma resolution modality called somatic experiencing. So we call that the trauma vortex. But I'm not talking about trauma, just life. Life disrupts the flow and it gets us kind of out of the river and feeling a little less. What it takes to get back in the flow. So this works with survivors. This works with your volunteers. Lisa in Ohio, this works sort of post-COVID. What works to kind of get out of that weird isolation out of here is to be very deliberate about creating an equal and opposite like flow the other way, right? So as much as there's kind of wounding and upset, we can put resources. So resources are the counterbalance to that wounding and upset. So I'll get into what I mean by resources in just a moment when I take the slides down, but you can see you get pulled out of life and then they have to have the equal and opposite balance to come back in. And then once we do come back in, and you could check and see if this is true against your own life experience, when we do come back into the river, what's actually there is we're actually kind of a bigger, better person. If you look at some of the traumas you were in your life, man, up close and personal, it was terrible. But when you got 5 years later and you were sharing it with someone else who went through something similar, and now it was a gift to them, and you realized, oh my gosh, I have learned a lot. And I never thought that experience would become an offering for someone else. We do actually get increasingly better as a result of what we deal with in life. So here's one more way of looking at that system. I don't want to overwhelm you with charts, but I think I got some cool engineering brains in the room, so I'm going to overwhelm you with charts. What we see going on here is how the nervous system works. Now, Erin sees this all the time because this is the core of what my work revolves around. I work with the neurobiology of stress and how we can get functionally better at being human. So in life, we have a nervous system that's a lot like the ocean. It's a lot like the sun and the moon. It rises and it falls. Something makes the heart contract and expand, contract and expand. The sympathetic nervous system brings contraction. The parasympathetic opens. And we just need that. It's normal. But then an incident happens, like say you're going through, maybe you accidentally run a stop sign. I know I'm probably the only person in the room who's ever done that, but maybe someone else has. And you run it and you realize halfway through the action, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And there's a tightness in the system. There's a hypervigilance that kicks in. The eyebrows go up, the face responds, the whole body gets tense, that adrenaline little burst comes out. And then you keep driving and your body holds that stress for a little bit. That's the body kind of ricocheting around. And then after you realize like, oh, I'm fine. Oh my gosh, so I can't believe I did that. That was a close one. Then you get like wow. And it's a weird, like excessive pull down. Well, that's just the body trying to get you back into range. The parasympathetic pulls down the highly sympathetic charge. So kiddos these days, teenagers these days, young adults in college these days who we're trying to recruit, they are either in what this picture shows, stuck on or stuck on off, because many of them don't know how to come down from that high anxiety panic or how to come up from that stuck on low. Where you could see what this diagram shows is there's a window of what we can tolerate, sort of upper limit where anything above here and I've lost it, or kind of anything too low and I just can't really function. But then our range of resilience is inside there. So I'm going to talk to you about, if I go back to this diagram and I say, or here, not there. That was fun. Here is like, oh my gosh, we're getting stuck on, we're coming out of the river. Or what just happened is so depressing. I'm getting stuck on off. I'm out of the river. I'm just like crushed. Coming back using some resources gets us back in our flow. So then that range gets bigger. So I know I'm flipping back and forth a little bit, and I'm doing that just kind of simulate your eyes because we're on a screen and it's weird. So I'll just show you. One of the things we look at is if you're stuck on high or stuck on low, the symptoms in people's bodies might look a little bit like this. When you're stuck on high, it could be anything from really manic, like really friendly volunteers who are just like, la, 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 and you're like, whoa, they're also a little over the top. How do you calm them down and make sure they don't hurt themselves in a response? Or they're just constantly really emotional and all over the place. Or they're just aggravated and restless or anxious or irritable or hostile with explosive intermittent rages, can't relax. It might sound like someone you know. Go ahead and check yourself or your family members, just do a little scan. Or they might be stuck in low. Some of these things you see listed, just low energy, depression, binge watching too many dumb TV shows. Anybody do that? Just me. But just like I'm someone who loves to be in love with life, but if I find myself binge watching a TV show, I'm like, wow, what is happening? And I promise you, Lisa, the young people you're trying to engage on social media, they know at one point that binge watching is not the life they dreamt of, but they're doing a lot of it. And so they're kind of stuck on low. So one way to get engagement in life is to know that, like, look at some of these qualities on the thing and notice if you've met people with this and they get described like it's someone's personality. Like you guys are probably thinking, oh, that's Amie. She's really high energy. That's her personality. And I will tell you that's not. That's actually my nervous system, and I have cultivated it on purpose. And if I meet people who are very low energy, the first thing I start looking at is what else in their system might be happening. I might ask them how their digestion is, or kind of explore if they've got numbness in their body. And if they do, it tells me I might start using some exercises that could help them either get back up or get back down. Now, I have a lot of exercises about coming up or down, depending on where you are. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of them right now, but we might do a couple. But I wanted to start to say, like, starting to see that, starting to look at life in this way, rather than looking at it as like people aren't involved, but maybe their bodies. Like COVID happened, right? And we were all staring at that screen all the time, watching those numbers go up, almost in a state of like anxiety, but we couldn't go anywhere. And then after a while, it was like, now I don't even want to call my family or address them or deal with them. So the nervous system couldn't adjust. And I think we know that. So how do we support each other getting the adjustment we need? Well, one of the big ways we do that is through social engagement, which is why I spent so much time in the beginning socially engaging with you. It's kind of awkward sometimes and kind of weird to ask questions when you're just interested in who people are, or to find within you that curiosity that asks that. But when you do that, people around you get a certain amount of vitality. I really know that. It's not making small talk. It's not making chit chat. I do that because I was literally working with your nervous systems as we did that to begin to notice, does that social engagement get our energy level? And it did. You felt the energy was kind of up in the beginning. So as we're just saying that, what's coming up for you? Anybody seeing anything, thinking about anything? Would it be helpful for me to give you some exercises? I think I just have about 5 minutes left. And so I'd like to make sure I really get you some really good value on this, because I think as we start to look at some of your questions specifically, like using social media to engage people, young people these days are really interested in mental health. But we keep saying, be interested in disaster, or be interested in crisis. Well, they're like born in a generation of crisis. They're all about it. So how do you say, like, we're interested in you being really well in life? And if you're really well, you'd be on our teams. You'd be a part of our thing. You'd have a group. You'd have a tribe. You'd participate. We'd do these things once a month where we watch some dumb disaster movie together and we critique it. And at least even if we're from a distance, we do it on Zoom together. Like we do, like, anyone ever saw Mystery Science Theater, where it was like these little images, these little silhouettes at the bottom of a screen watching movies together with just heckling? It could drive some people crazy, but we do heckling nights and then we do quiet nights, or we do something where we do a learning night. We're going to watch this and ask each other, what do we learn about what was effective in that system? But creating a culture of learning and play and laughter is really something a lot of people are looking for. And look at on this, there's a few people on this call over the age of 45. There's a few. You've lived, and it still feels nice to engage. And I know if I asked you, you'd sound just like my papa. You'd say, yeah, but kids these days don't like to engage. No, they don't get invited to. They don't get invited to. If I do this with them, they'd be like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Somebody asked me a bunch of questions about myself. They love it. We're all human. We have this nerve in our neck called the ventral vagal nerve that when we actually see each other and engage, and I'm coming forward and back and giving you more of me and engaging, that we feel a little bit more alive. So that said, what would be helpful? What else would be helpful as we're starting to hear about this? What are you hearing for yourself? How does this support some of the things you're working on? Is it interesting? Is it boring? You're like, it's more fun when we were just hanging out talking about firefighters and cops being enemies.
I've already talked too much. Somebody else.
Yeah. Marty, you might be a spokesperson for people's hearts. I think people, William jumped in. He said he got something out of what you're sharing, even having a different view. Aaron, you have something too.
No, I was just going to say, I've never heard enough of Marty. So Marty, go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say simply enjoy your Saturdays. And even if you're not retired, Bill, the difference, I think, being retired, and I'm with you, I'm busier now than I was when I was working. But I am doing what I want to do now. My mayor's not down my throat and telling me to do this or go there. I get to go and do what I want to do. And I think in the VOAD world, one of the biggest things for me is I'm working with some of the most wonderful people on the planet. There's no political, just like you, Amie. I mean, you come across very sincere. You're wanting to improve. I heard a talk, and members of the church are going to remember this one, but it was just somebody that was talking about a very difficult situation. They were trying to carry a piano, and some old guy just came up and said, all right, everybody get around the piano. Now just lift where you stand. And everybody lifted where they stood, and the piano came right up, and they were able to move it easily. So I think that's what we do. We all lift where we stand. We do our part. And how can you not be happy working with a bunch of people like you guys?
Nice.
Yeah, Amie.
Yeah.
This is Stan. So something that Marty and others have said kind of brought a thought. If we transmit, broadcast, convey a feeling to other people that what we are doing feels like a burden to us, then they're not going to want to engage in that. So this enjoyment, enjoyment aspect is really very important. And so, at least for me, I share some of these mantras that nothing happens by accident. There is nothing bad. Everything that happens to us is for our good, even though we may not perceive it that way. From an eternal perspective, we should know it is. And that, at least for me, I've just made a conscious decision at some point. I'm not going to let somebody else or the circumstances I'm in dictate my response to that. And that's, you talked about how do you take in all the emotion and release it somewhere, whether it's rolling off or passing through. And those are some of the things that you need to do to do that. I've always lived in a high tension space, and very early on, you just have to make a conscious decision and say, I'm not going to let these, whatever other people might be doing, run in circles and scream and shout, right? When something bad happens, you just have to decide you're not going to. And I've just lived in a troubleshooting environment pretty much all my adult life. And when everybody else is panicking, I'm the guy that rides in and says, "Oh, did you push that button?"
Yeah. Well, Stan, let me mess with you a little bit here, if you don't mind, because I think we are all going to get this.
Go
We're
ahead.
talking about recruiting young people and engaging energy into our VOADs. A lot of times we get impatient with the young people because we're like, you're trying to tell them what you just told us. You just got to make a decision and do this, da 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 da. When you were 14, had you made that decision yet?
Not when I was 14.
Oh, well, when you were 19, maybe you were starting to. Your generation might have made it sooner.
Nah.
There was a moment in each of our lives where we hadn't made these decisions yet to be so focused. And probably the brains weren't actually formed to be able to process it, honestly. And yet we work with kids like, you're not making these good decisions, and you need to do it like me. And then I'll show you one more picture and I'll kind of wrap up with this picture because I really want you guys to think about it. And Aaron, I know I don't mean to push time, but I do mean, but I'll try not to. This is just something I want you to really think about, because I think this is something more for older generations to engage younger generations. And I really heard that was in this space. So this is what I'm bringing out. What happens when you're older and wiser is the idea that you want to deliver information based on personal experience. So you kind of step into the pool a little bit and you're like, I'm going to give you good information about how you can do this kind of project. It's going to be really wonderful for you. It's been great for me. Here's what I've learned. And what young people especially are going for, and probably you when you were in your early 20s more than anything, were very much this way too. You were learning through relationships more than information. You were learning when people selected you on the basketball team, at what point they got it. Your relational dynamics were much more important to you than the informational dynamics. But as we get older, we're like, give me the information, give me the facts, where are we going? And then maybe a little personal story we can relate with. But that's just starting to step some toes into the pool. So I would challenge you, I'm not giving you a whole bunch of stuff here, but we can explore it some other time if you'd like, or just on your own. We're wise. You're in a world where you're all brilliant. You're picking this information up and you're doing cool things. You're starting to make it personal. But you see, I like to say, Stan, did you get this when you were 14? And you had to stop for a second and be like, well, no. And that was me starting to ask a relational question. So then his brain started to engage. So instead of him saying, kids these days just need to make a decision to not feel bad, his brain started to engage and said, oh, wait, yeah, no, there is a point. I learned it. Because he and I started to get relational about that thing. And that's why I said it to Marty, like, hey, what's it like to have other people hear you? It's weird. It's awkward. It seems invasive. It seems uncomfortable. But I promise you, especially young people, that's where their learning channel is really wide. And they want to learn from being in relation to you, not just the information you might impart. So if you know that, and you're trying to have a social campaign, Lisa, have a campaign that's like, I want to relate with you. Who's got the coolest story about this? Who would share? You always want to prime it that a couple people will share first, so it doesn't fall on dead ears. That's a little social media manipulation game, but it's worthwhile. But creating a space where people can relate is something Aaron does so great in crisis cleanup. I mean, those hotline folks know and love each other. And we've been talking for years about creating more and more opportunity for them to interact with each other. And we've realized how sustainable and life-giving that is. And all the volunteer orgs that do that know that's where the secret sauce is. So I'm just reminding you, you already know the secret sauce, but we just called it out a little bit. I dropped some resources in there in the chat for you, some pictures of that. There is one that shows that nervous system up, down, and I wasn't going to leave you with nothing on that. The flip side of it and the big Superman POW things have a couple exercises you can do if you're on high to kind of bring yourself back down. And they're all physiological. They use the body, or things if you're down, you can use to get up. Kiddos these days also love that. I'm saying kiddos. I'm talking about 25-year-olds. They get mad at me too. Anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for letting me be with you, letting me share this. I deeply respect who you are, and you've given me tremendous listening, where here I'm just making up as you go. Y'all are living legends. And I thank you for letting me be a part of your story and for sharing what you shared, because you each shared so much. And even by sharing what you're struggling with a little bit, I promise you there are other people who got something out of hearing that was really life-giving. So keep sharing, get on the court, living your life. Thanks for sharing it with me. Aaron, thank you.
Thank
Knowledgeable,
you.
so moved.
Thank you, Amie. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Let's see here.